Right, here we go. There hasn't been a seamless transition. This is take 3. So let's hope this one is the one that gets through, that makes it. Okay. So we got down to Colasdane in the first part, the first video. We carry on from kai hoi men politai. Men means there must be a de. And we can easily appreciate that hoi men politai, the citizens on the one hand, are going to be contrasted with ho de Socrates on the other hand. So, here we go. Right. Kai hoi men politai malista orgis thesan. Everything underlined is given you at the bottom, very much. So, what's the mood of the citizens? What a surprise. Faced with the obstacle, that is Socrates, they were very much angered. So they were extremely angry because ho Socrates ekoluen hutos, because Socrates, that's an imperfect, by the way. It's got, oh, I've just noticed there, we've got a weak aorist more or less next to it. Let's have a look at those two things. Okay, so koluo, under kappa, in the vocab, is prevent or hinder. Ekoluen. It's got an augment, but it hasn't got a sigma. So that's the imperfect. Because Socrates was preventing them, let's say, doing this. Kai ekelusan. So that's the weak aorist, because, again, filed under kappa, keluo, I order, ekelusan. That form's got a sigma. So that's an aorist, not an imperfect. It's also got the alpha, ekelusan, that smacks of weak aorist. You don't find the alpha in the strong aorist. But that alpha you'll find in the verb, you'll find in its participles, its weak aorist participle. There's one coming up with praxantes. Okay, so that's the weak aorist. And that's also then how we distinguish imperfect and aorist. Okay, so he was preventing them, ekeluen. Sorry, I'm getting confused here, but I'm not doing a take 4. Ekoluen, he was preventing them thus. Kai ekelusan, out on. Well, that verb goes ekelusa, sas, se, samen, sate, san. They ordered him. Heautois peithesthai. Once again, we had it at the end of line 2. That means to obey. They ordered him to obey. Heautois, as you'll see when you take notes on reflexive pronouns, that heautois, like sibi, is the dative and it refers back to the subject. The subject's in the verb, it's just they ordered him to obey them. They're literally themselves. I don't think we'd say that in English. So they're losing their patience with Socrates. He's being an obstacle, he's being difficult. On the other hand, because that's the de that goes with the men earlier, Socrates Ex8 said, listen to me, O men of Athens, tuta gar praxantes. Praso is I do. The future is praxo. But the weak aorist is epraxa. This is the weak aorist participle. The only thing that has an augment is the verb itself, the tense of the verb, the aorist form of the verb, or the imperfect, but not a participle. The augment disappears then. So if epraxa is I did. Praxas, praxasa, praxan is the weak aorist participle. This is masculine, plural, nominative form. For having done this, ezesthe, ezamai, eze, estai, ezomatha, ezesthe, ezontai, you will be guilty of adikias megistes. Going right back to line 1, I mentioned there was an irregular superlative for agathos, good, better, best is aristos. There's also an irregular superlative for megas, which means big. Would you believe maidstone is the comparative, but the less I say about that, the better for the moment. And then the superlative megistos. So the greatest, the biggest. You will be guilty of the greatest injustice. Look at that word, adikia. Dike is justice. Adikia is injustice. Dikaios, which is coming up, is... Sorry, I'm all over the place here, I don't know why. Dikaios, there's dikaios there. That means just, as in fair, as in legal. So he says, you will be guilty of the greatest injustice because ou dikaion esti. Just like in Latin, if you want to say it is right, it is necessary, it is decent, decorum est. For example, in Latin, I'm sure you've met, this is dikaion esti. It is not just, he says. It isn't just to do what? To kategignoske. Now that's quite difficult because it means condemn, but you condemn somebody in the genitive to a penalty in the accusative, which is sort of counterintuitive. You expect the accusative to be tone, octo, pantone, the 8 of them, all 8 of them, rather. But in fact, the accusative is thanaton. That's what the punishment is. So, condemn to death, tone, octo, pantone. Literally, the 8, all of them. All 8 of them, miai zerphoi, in one vote. 4, don't confuse Athens with Athenians. Athenians are Athenaioi, but this is Hi Athenai in the dative, Athens, the city. For in Athens, pas ho fugon, every fugitive separately dikasdetai is judged. Dikasto is to try or judge. So that's then a passive form. Omai e etai omatha esthe ontai. Something very annoying about Greek is that the same endings could be middle, in other words deponent, or passive. This is definitely passive. Every fugitive is judged separately. I say fugitive because fugon can mean that, but here, of course, technically, it's going to mean defendant. In Greek law, the person who would be the accused in our vocabulary is in Greek the man fleeing, and the prosecutor in Greek is the man pursuing. So, you pursue justice. As a defendant, you are seen as fleeing from justice, which doesn't sound particularly fair. Anyway, that's what he says to them, and they don't like it. When, however, Socrates, now, epese, okay, right, we've got paithomai, which means obey. We've had that twice. There is a related verb. It's the active form of that same verb, peitho, which means persuade. Peitho means persuade. The aorist is going to be epeise. Uk epeise. And as active, it takes an accusative. Did not persuade the assembly, ekklesian. When, however, Socrates did not persuade the assembly, hoi strategoi, the generals, after a few days, apethanon, perished, were executed. Okay, so that's the Socrates passage done in full. It's going to be a relief to press pause, which I'll do now. I'm going to put this onto Firefly, but I don't know why I'm telling you that, because you'll be listening on Firefly, so you'll know that I've done that already. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is prepare you for the sentences I want you to have a look at. So I'll talk through them. Until then, bye for now.